Salt spray stung my face as the old fishing boat chugged into the harbor, the familiar scent of diesel, brine, and disappointment washing over me. I wiped my greasy hands on my coveralls, watching the sleek black limousine parked on the dock. They were here. Of course they were here. Before we dock, I said to my phone, recording for the small but loyal following who cared about sustainable fishing, I want to know who's with me today. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And when this is over, I need your honest opinion. What would you have done in my position? We read every comment. Now, let's begin. The engine coughed and died as we nudged against the weathered pilings. My uncle, Robert Kingsley, stood waiting on the dock, impeccable in a navy blazer that probably cost more than my boat's engine. His son, my cousin Preston, stood beside him, already looking bored. Maya, Robert said, not offering a hand as I climbed onto the dock. Still playing fisherman, I see. It's not playing, Uncle Robert, I said, unzipping my coveralls to reveal the simple t-shirt and jeans beneath. It's my business, Preston smirked. A business that's been in the red for 3 years running. Dad's been keeping track. I felt the familiar heat of humiliation, the same feeling I'd had my entire life as the wayward Kingsley, the one who'd chosen a life of salt and struggle over the family's hotel empire. We're here about the island, Robert said, getting straight to business. The board has made a decision. My heart clenched. Kingsley Isle, the tiny, rugged island where I'd spent summers with my grandfather, where he'd taught me to read the tides and mend nets, where my mother's ashes were scattered. You're selling it, I said flatly. Developing it, Robert corrected. Kingsley Bay Resort and Marina. 5-star luxury. The investors are very excited. I looked past him, at the island across the bay, still wild, still beautiful, still holding all my best memories. Grandfather left that island to all of us. He wanted it preserved. Sentimental nonsense, Robert snapped. The old man was losing his mind at the end. That island is the last undeveloped private island in this archipelago. It's worth a fortune. It's worth more than money, I whispered. Preston laughed. Spoken like someone who's never had any. Be reasonable, Maya. Sign over your share. We'll give you enough to get your little fishing business out of debt. You can even keep the shack on the North Shore. The shack was my home. The small cabin my grandfather had built with his own hands. I'm not signing anything, I said, my voice gaining strength. I'm invoking grandfather's clause. Robert's face went still. What clause? The Kingsley Compact, written when he first bought the island. Any major development requires unanimous consent from all shareholders, and I don't consent. For a moment, he looked genuinely worried. Then he recovered. That old document? It's not legally binding. We'll see, I said. I have a copy, and I have something else. I reached into my duffel bag and pulled out a thick binder. Environmental impact studies. This island is a critical nesting ground for 3 endangered seabird species. The development would destroy their habitat. Robert waved a dismissive hand. We'll do whatever environmental mitigation is required. The lawyers have already looked into it. It's not just the birds, I said, opening the binder. Grandfather knew something you never bothered to learn. There's a reason this island has never been developed. I showed them the maps, the charts, the decades of data my grandfather had collected. The western shore is eroding at an alarming rate. Your precious marina would be underwater in 20 years. The construction would destabilize the entire ecosystem. Preston snatched the binder from me, flipping through pages. This is garbage. Your amateur hour science doesn't. It's not my science, I interrupted. It's grandfather's, and it's been verified by the Marine Biology Institute. For the first time, I saw doubt in Robert's eyes. Where did you get this? From grandfather's study, I said. The one you never visited, after he died. The one you wanted to bulldoze. The wind picked up, whipping my hair across my face. I stood my ground, the daughter of fishermen and hotel magnates, the heir to 2 worlds that had never understood each other. This changes nothing, Robert said, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. We'll get our own studies done. We'll fight you on this. Try, I said softly. But while you're fighting, I'll be building. That night, alone in my cabin with the waves crashing against the shore, I opened the old wooden chest my grandfather had left me. Beneath his fishing logs and weather journals, I found what I was looking for, his dream. Not for a hotel, but for a marine research station and eco-retreat. Complete plans, budgets, everything. He'd known Robert would try to sell out, and he'd known I would fight. The next morning, I started making calls. To marine biologists I'd met through my work, to environmental groups, to the few friends I had left in the family business, who still had a conscience. Weeks turned into months. Robert and Preston fought me at every turn. Legal challenges, smear campaigns, even trying to have my fishing license revoked. But I had the truth on my side, and I had my grandfather's meticulous research. The break came from an unexpected source. National Geographic wanted to do a feature on the endangered birds. Their film crew spent a week on the island, documenting the very destruction my uncle's development would cause. The day the article published, my phone started ringing. Donations poured into the newly formed Kingsley Marine Foundation. Universities offered partnerships. Conservation groups pledged support. The final board meeting was held in the very hotel my great-grandfather had built. I walked in wearing clean jeans and a blazer I'd bought for the occasion, my hair still smelling of salt air. Robert and Preston were already there, flanked by lawyers. The other board members, aunts, uncles, cousins I barely knew, watched with nervous curiosity. "It's over, Robert," I said before he could speak. "I have the votes." He laughed, but it was hollow. "You have nothing. You're a fisherman with a petition." "I have 51% of the shares," I said calmly. "Aunt Clara signed over her voting rights to me this morning. She remembers what grandfather wanted." The room erupted. Robert's face went white. Preston looked like he'd been punched. "You bought her off," Robert accused. "I showed her grandfather's plans," I said. "The real ones. Not the hotel he never wanted to build, but the research station he dreamed of. The one that will bear his name and do real good in the world." I laid the plans on the table. Not just the environmental preservation, but the economic benefits for the local community, the educational programs, the sustainable tourism that would actually last. "The Kingsley legacy won't be another luxury resort," I said, my voice clear and strong in the quiet room. "It will be a place of learning, of preservation, of remembering who we're supposed to be." The vote was a formality. When I was named the new director of the Kingsley Foundation, Robert and Preston walked out without a word. That was a year ago. Today, the Kingsley Marine Research Station is partially operational, with the grand opening next month. We've already tagged our first 100 seabirds, started our first student fellowship program, and begun the careful work of stabilizing the western shore. I still live in my grandfather's cabin, but now it's connected to the world with satellite internet and a steady stream of researchers and students. My fishing boat still goes out, but now it does double duty collecting water samples. This morning, a package arrived. Inside was my grandfather's old brass compass, the one he'd used to teach me navigation. There was no note, but none was needed. As I stood on the beach watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and rose, I finally understood my inheritance. It wasn't the island or the foundation or the Kingsley name. It was this: the certainty that some things are too precious to price, and that the truest wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in what we preserve for generations to come. The girl they called a simple fisherman had outmaneuvered them all, not with their weapons of money and power, but with something they'd never understood: love for this place, and the courage to fight for it. And as the first research boat of the day headed out through the morning mist, I knew my grandfather was watching. And I knew, finally, that I had made him proud.